Well, I said I would do this show, but I would like to keep my beard. Because for 9 years, they took it away from me.
It's beautiful.
This was me during the pandemic, and this is what I would look like if I was allowed to look like
us.
what I wanted to.
Yes!
Wow.
I
that's
love
amazing.
Full Christopher Lloyd.
Hi, I'm Mayim and Bialik, and welcome to my breakdown. This is the place where we break things down so you don't have to.
It's Mayim and Bialik's breakdown. She's gonna break it down for you, because you know she knows a thing or two. And now she's gonna break down. It's a breakdown. She's gonna break it down.
Today we're going to be breaking down breaking points. When you hit your breaking point, in particular in a career, and the potential transformation that can come from that, you might be surprised that we're going to get into that with Bobby Moynihan. Really, really funny guy. Also a very reflective guy. He was on SNL for 9 seasons, and he's currently on that new Ted Danson show.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor. But Bobby Moynihan has a path. Honestly, I'm just going to say he was into puppetry. He waited till SNL was over essentially to start his life, even though what he originally thought was that was what he wanted from life. Look at me writing the back flap of his memoir that he hasn't written. So we're going to be talking to Bobby Moynihan in a little bit. But first, let me introduce you to the only man I can tolerate wearing the kind of jacket he's wearing, Jonathan Cohen. And even with you, I'm not so sure.
Hello, Mayim. And for those of you who are listening to the audio, you might want to stop by Mayim's YouTube channel and take a look at the outfits that are happening today. We're in another set of tracksuits.
These are colorful tracksuits, just like us.
But just similar enough to make the cut of being twin cousins like we always are.
Yes, today is fashionable, colorful windbreaker day. Do we have a word of the day today, Jonathan, or are we just going to get right into it?
We don't. I think we should just consider this idea that over time, people accumulate stress. We all face pressures. We all respond to those in different ways. And sometimes those pressures can build to a point where they really start to impact us negatively, and we don't even realize how much stress that we're under.
You know, as creatures, we're programmed to survive.
It's like the frog scenario. That's like the most common.
Right. Where if you put a frog in boiling water, what happens?
It jumps out.
Oh, it jumps out. Sorry. If you put a frog in boiling water, it will jump out. But if you put it in some water and turn up the heat and let it slowly get hotter and hotter, it'll just die. So the idea that, I don't necessarily think of us as the frogs, but yes, part of it is that if you're placed in an untenable situation that is so untenable that you find it unbearable, you often do have more strength and resources to get out. But as anyone who's been in a bad relationship or an abusive or a toxic relationship can tell you, your will and your strength and your ability to channel those resources towards getting out of that get depleted. And that's kind of part of the sickness also of that kind of situation, whether it's a relationship or even a work situation. And I think Bobby really talks about it so perfectly. So you may know Bobby Moynihan, as I said, from Saturday Night Live. He was on for 9 seasons. He originated beloved characters such as Drunk Uncle. There's a Donald Trump story related to that if you want to Google it. And he also co-wrote the popular, one of my favorite things, David S. Pumpkin sketch. That's the one with Tom Hanks. It's so strange. It spawned a Halloween animated special, which actually runs every year. But most recently, he's on Mr. Mayor from Tina Fey and Robert Carlock. It's on NBC. He co-stars opposite Ted Danson and Holly Hunter. And he also, he's done a ton of TV, but he's also a very prolific voiceover actor.
He has so much animation.
I met him when we did the Kelly Clarkson show together, and he literally brought up Blossom. And for some reason, I get that he's the right age to have watched it, but I feel like when people have been on SNL for 9 years, they don't remember that they watched Blossom. Although Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph in a bathroom once at an NBC party. did mention that they like Blossom. So maybe it is a thing that happens, but still, it's very surprising to me. But apparently he was a Blossom fan, and I think that's funny.
I want to see Maya Rudolph do a Blossom impression.
I would like to see that too. Let's welcome Bobby Moynihan. Break it down. Welcome, Bobby Moynihan.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you here. It's so nice to have you here that it made me hit puberty again and my voice cracked. It's really nice to have you here. Jonathan and I are big fans of yours. Also, let's not pretend like we're not wearing ridiculous jackets, the two of us. You're welcome to tease us. We dress like twins for every episode, and
This is as close as we could get. We're a little bit off.
I like it. I wish I would have known.
because you're a very funny person, we're going to do what most people probably do, which is try and be as funny as possible.
That's what I try and do at all times, unfortunately. Force it.
It doesn't make things weird at all when you're trying to have a serious conversation.
No, not at all.
We got to meet because we were both on the Kelly Clarkson show
Correct.
a handful of months ago when like COVID was still a thing. I mean, it's still a thing
When
now,
it was
but
still cool.
right. By the time this comes out, people will think it's really funny that like we had to sit a million feet from each other. There literally was like an extra long couch just for us.
Yeah, there was a very long couch. The biggest dressing room I've ever had, because it's just like whatever room you're in is yours.
I had like 2 bathrooms and a shower, and I was literally there 5 minutes. Like I walked from my car to the, and then was taken to the.
And
set.
not only that, I parked like outside the front door of the
I
studio.
felt like a total
It was
VIP.
fascinating.
It was the
It was
only
a fascinating
time.
experience.
It was the only time that I've pulled into like and been like, I'm reporting for a whatever talk show, and they're like, right this way. Your spot is right in front. That's
Right in
usually
front.
what they say to people much more famous than me.
Yeah, next to Kelly Clarkson's car, who will leave immediately from the studio. There was also digital audience members. There wasn't people in the audience. It was just horizontal TV monitors with
it's
people.
very
A lot of
strange.
people sitting on in their homes watching. And the best part was when they went to commercial break. Everybody immediately just went on their phones. So it was just an audience full of people of computers on their phones. It was post-apocalyptic.
Also, it's the stuff that like sci-fi dreams are made of, where, in the future, audiences will just be screens.
With avatars that won't even be real people.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I'm sure you hear this all the time, but when I was 15 years old, when I was a child watching Blossom, I think they would have told me I would meet you in front of a digital audience on the Kelly Clarkson show. I would have been like, yeah, no, that sounds
Yeah,
about right.
in 1,000 years that will happen. Just so people can kind of place you in the universe.
Yes.
Where are you from? And, if you can just tell us a little bit about your folks. Do you come from a showbiz family? Do you have siblings? Are you all funny?
Wow, those are all great questions. I don't think I've really ever been asked. I come from New York. I'm from New York originally. I grew up there. I grew up in Westchester County. I lived in Brooklyn and
My
Manhattan
mother did
for
mescaline in Westchester County.
That's
Recently revealed to us.
the state flower, right?
Sorry, recently revealed on this podcast. My parents are from the Bronx, and Westchester was where they
Amazing.
went to have a good time, apparently. Sorry, go ahead.
That's where you get your mescaline. That's where the Westchester, America's
All right, so you
best
grew up in
mescaline.
Westchester.
Yeah, full of mescaline as a child, and my parents both from the Bronx. My parents were not in show business. My dad owned a liquor store for many years, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom for many years, and then became the town tax assessor, like the tax assessor for the town. She worked in the town hall, which was across the street from my house.
There's like 7 interesting things about what you just said about your mom.
Yeah. Oh, my mom's a trip. She was the best. Both my parents passed away a year and a half, a couple years ago. 3 years ago now.
Do you have siblings?
I have an older sister. Yes. She's
Is
the best.
she a funny person?
Yes, in a very different way. Absolutely hilarious. Very, very, very brilliant. Very witty.
But
Yes.
not in the industry.
Did not seek the attention I sought. But could get it.
Yeah, and you come, I assume, from an Irish family.
Irish Italian mix. Yeah, Irish Italian
Oh,
Swedish. Yeah.
wow. But the name, obviously.
Yeah, no, name all Irish, quarter Italian, half Italian, quarter Irish, quarter Swedish.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Hence your exotic good looks.
Yes, hence the Mandy Patinkin.
Who is an Eastern European Jew? That's a different story.
Yes.
What were you like as a kid? Were you? I mean, I hate to ask. I mean, I don't hate to ask because I'm very curious. Were you the class clown, or were you like super shy and then you like found your groove later and always knew you wanted to be a comedian? Like, what is that like?
I mean, the story told amongst the Moynihans, and I remember it was like when I was very very young at the pool. We would go to like the town pool, and everyone called me "Watch Me" because I would just say like "Watch me" and then jump in the pool, and like that was the big joke was everyone called me "Watch Me" because I just
Oh my god!
I just wanted, I guess I just wanted people to watch me. But yeah, at a very, very, very young age, like, I'm guessing like kindergarten. I guess it was kindergarten. I've smoked a lot of pot in the last couple of years and forgotten almost everything,
There's a cautionary tale for our young listeners.
exactly. Yes. I think it was kindergarten. I played Santa Claus. I remember I had a teacher who was like, "We're going to do a Christmas play and you're going to play Santa Claus." And I was like, "I don't want to play Santa Claus." And she was like, "Trust me." Like, I remember the tone, even then, the tone being like, "You're the one to do this." Like, and I'm doing this for a reason, kind of like you should be doing this. And I remember that going like, "Oh, this is fun," but never being like, "This is," I didn't have parents who my dad worked all day and he drank all day and my mom worked all day, so I was just very imaginative. It wasn't like I had parents who were like, how do we get this kid in the industry, or how do we make money? Like it wasn't that at all. They were just like, no, entertain everybody in the building,
Right.
like kind of thing, and or yourself. But yeah, like when I was young, I did that. I got heavily into like the summer theater,
Right.
like
You were that
in my
guy.
town. Yeah. I was like, like I did summer plays with all my buddies, but all my buddies were troublemakers, and none of them were in the play. They were all in the tech crew.
I know those tech crew guys.
Yeah, like it was like I was in the tech crew, but also in the plays, if that made sense. Like, and I
Right.
also built all the sets and painted, and like that was, I had like a weird, like, very nice. Grew up in a small town, Eastchester, bunch of friends, and did theater in the summers and rode our bikes.
So, what did you do, let's say, after high school? Because there are many, I'm actually, I mean, first of all, it's unbelievable and fascinating to me that you were, on SNL for 9 seasons. Is that correct?
9, yeah, bonkers.
So, like, that's super awesome. And, I'm sure people want to talk to you about that, and I'm sure it'll come up, but I'm interested in so many other parts of you.
That's the greatest thing anyone's ever said to me. When I got the show, the night I found out I got the show, I saw Seth Meyers, and he said, "Congratulations, you'll never talk about anything else."
Oh,
for the
that's
rest of
not
your
true.
life."
Welcome to Mayim and Jonathan's world.
And it makes me very happy.
No, well, so I have obviously I have a lot of friends who are in comedy, and I'm friends with some of the Groundlings company, and so I know that's kind of like one of the ways that people take that next step. So I'm just curious, sort of like, did you start in improv? Did you start writing? Like what was your path after high school that kind of got you to this next place in life? Because Westchester, for those of you who don't know, like, it's a lovely place. It's it's near the city, but it's really not the city. Like,
no.
It's a very different part of New York. So leaving there is often hard. It's the kind of place where a lot of people stay. But you left. So what happened after high school?
High school, more of the same. Was just pretty easy, fun-going kid. Did a lot of theater, and I remember there was like my senior year of high school. There was a girl in our school who was like absolutely amazing, and she was a beautiful voice, beautiful singer, and they were gonna do Evita. Because like she was perfect for it, and I think one of the parents got very angry that they were like planning a show for this girl in particular, like, you know, kind of thing. Like one of the
Yes.
parents got angry.
That would be
And
my mom getting mad. What's wrong with my daughter? What, she can't be in it too?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So then the chorus director was like, okay, fine, we're doing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
What?
And like just went the opposite way. And I ended up getting McMurphy. And the best
Right.
part is he gave the lead. He gave Nurse Ratched to the girl who would have played Evita, which was the best thing ever. And it's not lost on me in hindsight what actually happened there.
That's incredible.
Fantastic. Nice job, Mr. Gedge. Yeah, like so, like at this point, college is coming, and like I had no idea. I wanted to either draw comic books, or I was a big Jim Henson fan. I enjoyed a lot of Jim Henson's work. I just wanted to like. I like was like sculpting action figures and like getting into that world at the time, and like I was in a weird place. And I remember finding UConn, and that UConn had a puppetry department. It was like the only school that had a puppetry department, and kind of weirdly started looking into their acting program because I was like, I'm not going to be able to pay for school. And went up to UConn to visit, and like did a stupid thing where they were holding auditions for the acting department, and I was like, I'm just gonna pop in and do this monologue I remember from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then the next thing you know, I got a scholarship to UConn, and I was there for acting.
Wow.
And like secretly wanting, and then taking like puppetry classes on
I
the
mean,
side.
I'm sorry. You just became like a million times more fascinating because,
I want to see the old puppets.
Oh, I have a garage full.
wow. I just watched, my boys and I just watched the Finding Elmo, the documentary, which I had already seen before, but they were so in particular fascinated by a boy. You know, because like it's not and I mean, he talks about it in the documentary, like that's not something that boys were thought to do, like sewing and fabric and all these things, but they were so fascinated. That is really interesting. What was your comic book jam? Like, what are you a Marvel person? Are you DC? Like, are you esoteric? Like anything?
It's funny. I am a comic book lore fan.
Okay.
Via art. I liked to draw. So I would just like, I didn't like read comic books when I was a kid.
Got it.
I remember like the first X-Men with Jim Lee, like when Jim Lee started drawing it, like I went like, I like how that guy draws. And like I started like just buying it and drawing every page, or like trying to like, and like ended up knowing about comics through that, but it was more like practicing drawing.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Weirdly enough, like that I know. So like I don't know a lot about the history of comics.
No, I totally get it. No, I was just trying to see like how deep into the geek world we can go.
I can hang, but I'm not the best.
Yeah, no, it's not like a prerequisite for being on this show. Okay, so you're at UConn and you study acting, and then how does one get on SNL?
I was at UConn. I was doing shows there. Acting major. Did my kind of time there. There was 9 of us in the entire acting department in my grade, 9 in total. And then right after college, graduated and moved back to New York, and was like, I'm going to now start the theater. I will now start the theater in New York. And moved back to New York, was doing like an off Broadway show that I auditioned for. It was called Final Exit, and it was 9 people trapped in a room, and they don't know how they got there, and how are they, and they're talking about how are they going to get out, and it was very existential theater.
Sartre.
And
Sartre.
Say it again.
Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre.
Oh,
He wrote
yes,
No Exit.
sure.
Yes.
I thought you
Okay.
said Star Trek, and I was
did
like,
not say Star Trek.
I'm not familiar. I don't
said
remember that
Sartre.
episode.
Yes.
I remember doing that and being like, this is not what I should be doing. like this is great, and this is fun, and this was like good practice in college, but it just doesn't feel right. And I was walking down the street in the city, and I saw the sign for Upright Citizens Brigade, and I remembered the TV show, and I was like, that's the best TV show ever. And I went in that night. I opened the door. I went in. I saw a show, an improv show, and I was like, "Oh, that's it." And the next day, signed up for classes, and I was there for 10 years before I got SNL.
Wow.
Yeah, graduated in 99 and found UCB. My first improv show I ever did was like a week after September 11th. There was not a single person in the audience.
Oh, my goodness.
The only person in the audience was someone in our class who didn't feel like performing.
Were you in Manhattan for 9/11?
I was driving out of it. I was in New York. But
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then that I started UCB then, 2001, and then kind of, went through UCB, started taking classes, finally got on an improv team called
Right.
Police Chief Rumble, with like everybody who's working in comedy now was like that's who was there when I was at UCB.
Who did you hang with? I mean, there's a couple kind of schools of comedy, and SNL is often like a lot of Second City. The earlier years were Second City, but there's Second City, there's UCB, Groundlings on the West Coast. So who'd you hang with? Like, what was your community?
Like when I first started UCB, like the first group, like the cool group of guys that just went through was like, Paul Scheer and Rob Hubel and Chris Gethard and those guys and Donna Fineglass and all these like amazing, UCB legends, Michael Delaney, Billy Merritt, like all those guys. And then then I came in like a little bit after them. I was on the last Harold team at the first original UCB theater before they moved to the other one. But like Katie Dippold, the girl who wrote Ghostbusters and The Heat, she wrote a bunch of movies, like was on my first improv team. Charlie Sanders, a bunch of people, Nick Kroll,
Wow.
John Mulaney, like all those guys.
Yeah.
We all started kind of around the same time. Me, Ellie Kemper, like a bunch of people. It was like
Right.
everybody in that crew is now like Thursday night television. And, like it was it's bonkers. It's also the coolest. It's the coolest. I just had one of my closest friends, Eugene Cordero, and our kids are playing, and we were just talking about like. Remember when we were driving up to Canada with $6 in our pocket to go do comedy for $150 before taxes, and like now our children are playing together? Like it's fascinating.
Mayim and Bialik's Breakdown is supported by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Jonathan, name something people might need therapy for.
They could be struggling with anxiety, depression, relationship issues. They could be having trouble meeting their goals.
Well, online therapy can be used for all of those things and more. BetterHelp helps you assess your needs, and they match you with a professional, licensed therapist who you can start communicating with in under 48 hours. This is professional counseling done securely online. The therapists have a broad range of expertise. You can have weekly video, phone, or even live chat sessions. You can log into your account anytime. You can send messages. And BetterHelp is so committed to facilitating great matches, they make it very easy and free to change counselors. It's convenient. It's affordable. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/break. That's betterhelp.com/break.
Mayim and Bialik's Breakdown is supported by Warby Parker. I'm extremely excited about this. That's normally Mayim's line to be excited, but all of my glasses are Warby Parker glasses.
I also have Warby Parker glasses, and they are committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores. They offer eyeglasses, sunglasses, eye exams, and even contact lenses. Glasses start at an incredible $95, including prescription lenses. Sunglasses, progressives, and blue light lenses are also available. Do you need help choosing frames? I always do. You know what I did? I took the quiz. You answer a few questions. They suggest great-looking glasses that are personalized to fit your face and style. Warby Parker styles range from extra narrow to extra wide to fit all face shapes. What face shape do I have? It's called heart-shaped. Warby Parker now offers contact lenses, including their very own daily contact lens, Scout by Warby Parker. Scout is a comfortable, breathable, and affordably daily contact lens. A 90-day pack is $55. In addition to Scout, Warby Parker also carries a wide variety of other contact lens brands, including AccuView and Biofinity. Sunglasses also start at $95, and they're available with prescription for those of us who can barely see. Just like eyeglasses, their sunglasses are available through the Home Try-On program. Warby Parker sunglasses feature premium polarized lenses that are scratch resistant and provide 100% UV protection, which is really important to protect your eyeballs. Blue light filter lenses are also available. They're perfect for for those concerned about the effects of blue light, like we are. They filter more blue light than their standard polycarbonate or high-index lenses and can be added to your order during checkout. Try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There is no obligation to buy.
Ships free and includes a prepaid return shipping label. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/breakdown.
So you had this, very long, in a good way, very long run on Saturday Night Live, which is a huge deal. There's a lot about not only that show, but about comedians that, is very interesting, to me and hopefully to other people as well. But when we think, when I think about mental health, right, I think about the decisions many of us make as to sort of how we get what we need satisfied by our craft, And I was not, it's funny you said, that you watch me. I was not that. Like, that's not my experience of myself,
Yeah.
I remember that I could make people laugh. Like, I remember that. I remember I did impressions, even in elementary school. I remember entertaining the other kids and, I'd imitate teachers and, I was never very kind of like public about it. I wasn't class clowny. I mean, I was always talking. You couldn't, like, every teacher, like, that was the complaint about me. But what I found when I started doing school plays, which is really how I discovered, that I loved what I do, is that there was a freedom to being up there. And there was a freedom to not being afraid of being up there. And many people assume that actors and comedians in particular, that we're very confident because, who else would get up there and put themselves out there like that? And while I do have friends, specifically friends in Groundlings and those kind of places who are very fearless, I'm not a fearless, kind of comedian like that. There's a real comfort to making people happy, and I like to say there's like 2 kinds of performers. There's performers who do it because they want other people to tell them that they're great. They want the applause and they want the praise. And then there's people who just want someone to say, yes, you're right. You did it right. Let's move on. So I happen to be the latter. And it's not a judgment on like who's a better person or human. I'm not looking for, beatification here. But I know that for me, it's more important that you're happy, whoever the you is, than if I'm happy. And I wonder sort of where you fall in terms of what performing has meant for you. And in particular, being in such a high pressure, kind of, it's like a pressure cooker being on SNL in terms of like the timing and the pacing and how it works and how much you film and how decisions are made and just a lot of the personalities that you interacted with. So I guess maybe if you could talk a little bit about sort of what you get from performing and how that shifted or didn't shift when you actually, were working in that kind of environment.
Wow. That's awesome. It's so crazy. Like, no one ever talks about it. I just said to my wife the other day, 5 years ago, one of the big questions you get a lot is, how do I get on SNL? Or how do I tell how is my son, my son's hilarious. How is he going to tell Lorne Michaels to put him on Saturday Night Live? And people say, how do you get on it? And I used to say, find a bunch of people who are like-minded like you, who love doing comedy and get great at it and all that stuff. And like, and this whole spiel of like how I did it. And now I'm like, I have no idea. Now it's different. Like, have enough Twitter followers, I guess. Yeah. But also, like, my biggest advice would be like, I don't know how to tell you to get it, but I will tell you that if you do get it, the first thing you should do is get a therapist.
Yep.
And a therapist and an agent you trust, or someone just to help guide you, because I had no clue. And I didn't seek therapy until after, and wish I had it would have made that 9 years a lot easier.
Well, yeah, and can you talk? I'm not looking at all for gossip, like really not. But I guess I'm curious kind of what your experience was because I'm curious like kind of who Bobby was, before that in terms of what performing did for you, or did it feel, fun and good and you were good at it? I'm interested in that. And then, I guess I am interested in sort of the shift and
it's like a heart monitor or a roller coaster. It's like, I remember, being a kid and being like, oh, this is fun. And then, high school plays and like being like, okay. And then college was like, wow. And then, oh, UCB, like this is it. And then, SNL was my live stream. That was why I started UCB. When I started UCB, Amy Poehler started SNL 6 months later. And she was like my boss at UCB. And like, I watched her do an entire run on SNL, and then 8 years later, after training at her school, I started 6 episodes before she left, and the process of getting and like at that point in my life, when I got SNL, which I'll get into because that process. It was 14 months. The whole thing from audition to getting it, but. I felt at that time I was at the top of my game. I was like, I'm at UCB and like I was improvising 5 to 6 nights a week for an hour, for hours. I with people that we could literally read each other's minds. There were nights at UCB where we would do improv shows where I couldn't believe what we were coming up with. Like, it was because we were just so in tune and so in sync. And then I got SNL and it was like, just life just changed completely. And everything that I had worked for up until that point was, I guess, acknowledged, but also like my first day at SNL, I was just like, oh, so no one's gonna tell me anything. No one's gonna tell me anything or help me at all. Like this is all on me. And I felt very much like I had just gotten knocked down to the bottom of a ladder that I had spent a long time climbing. If that made sense. Like I felt very much like you are new and you act that way, kind of.
Well, and I think this brings up kind of two things that feel really, like they need some unpacking. How old were you when you started on SNL? Sorry, I haven't been doing the math.
I think 31.
Okay, fine. Let's call it 31.
Yeah.
What is it like to have your life stream achieved at 31? That's like part one. And part two, what if your live stream is not what you thought it would be, right?
Well, that's exactly what happened. It was the first episode.
I would be depressed. Like,
oh yeah.
Also, to leave that social safety net, like there's such a strength when you have a crew that you had described where you can read each other's minds and you're like, oh, my strength as a performer is fed off of these people and now I'm in a different situation. Like, did you doubt yourself? Like, how did that
Well,
hit you?
definitely. I mean, like, that's the whole thing. Like, UCB definitely, taught me community, and I came from a college with 9 people in my class, and like, I that kept happening to me. I kept being in these groups of entertainers, and like, that's what UCB was like. And then, I think I was a little naive. I think when I got to SNL, in my mind, I was born after the show started. I was a giant SNL super fan. I watched every episode, and then the next thing you know, I'm there. I'm standing in the studio. And like my first episode, I was in a sketch that Will Forte used to do that I loved. And like you can see it in my face. I'm laughing. I'm like, I can't believe this. Like the first episode was Space Camp, was complete like you've accidentally been sent up to space and now get to play, and then done. And then from the second week until the very last episode, it was a mix of complete terror, nightmares, and anxiety, and mixed with some of the greatest moments and some of the most insane Mad Lib type moments of your entire, like, it's like one day you're tired and you hate yourself and you're like, I'm not funny, and then the next night you're on a mechanical bull with Tom Hanks and Will Ferrell at 3 o'clock in the morning in a bar, and you're just like, all right. And then it's summer and you're like, what just happened? Like, you know, it definitely, it changed me.
And
It
then
changed
like
me.
hit repeat, and that happened for 9 years.
Never once have felt any kind of job security. Always thought I was going to be fired. Watched friends get fired. Watched for no reason, for reasons.
Do you want to know what I do at stressful jobs?
What?
I eat my feelings.
Yeah, I find out, I isolate, and I hide because I don't want to bother anybody. So I just get out of everybody's way,
Right.
And then I show up and I try and be hilarious. And then they're like, in the beginning, I was at the after parties till, Sunday afternoon, and then towards the end, I was just like, I was in bed by 1:15. But yeah, it definitely changed me. I was a very happy, outgoing person before SNL, and after I was very nervous and scared. And then I started therapy.
Well, so I don't, and also this is, again, you have to understand, not coming from a gossipy place, and so I'm going to ask it in a way that's not the gossipy way that you might interpret it, or that anyone might. Is there a kind of person that doesn't have that reaction? Because here's the thing, like,
He's shaking his head no. He's
okay,
like,
but
I shook my head no, but I think I'm wrong.
we had Hunter McGrady on. Let's just talk about it. We had Hunter McGrady on this podcast. She's a benchmark of a cultural shift, really, in body positivity. She was the most full-figured woman ever featured in the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, and she's a model and an advocate, and she's, fascinating. I mean, I think she's very fascinating. And we were talking about body image because she loves her body, which is great. I mean, I don't love my body. It's a thing.
Same.
And she was like, but just like get naked, look in the mirror, and do affirmations. It's like, yeah, so that I'm not wired that way. And then when I think of my job as an actor, and especially as an actress, because, there's different stuff on women, like there are women who are just like, I just won't eat, I'll look perfect, and I'll get all the jobs that I want. And I'm like, why can't I just do that? Why can't I just stop eating, look whatever, the way that I think I should, and then like my life will be better, right? Or even just with the stress of being a performer, which is stressful, or having to deal with publicity or red carpets. People are always like, oh, there's other people who feel like you. I don't know if as many actresses leave events crying as me, because I feel like I'm not, and to me, I've like learned to accept that about myself. I'm not wired that way. So I guess that's what I'm curious about. Are there people for whom you can put them in that situation and they'll be like, all right, I'm going to roll with this? You think of all the losses that we as a comedy community have had through SNL, right? Meaning these public losses. And you wonder, like, is it like, what is it? And people are like, oh, comedians are so messed up. They're just trying to fill a hole. But that situation's very specific. So I'm curious what you think.
It's hard. It's hard because you feel like a jerk, because it is a very singular experience. There's 150 people that have ever gone through that. There are 100, almost 150 cast members, and I think all of them are a little affected by it. I have friends that can't talk about it, won't talk about it. Friends that do, friends that shouldn't. From the show, and it's always a touchy subject. But I also it's this weird thing. I met Chris Rock at a Jet game. I've never met him before in my life. He walked over to me like we've known each other for 50 years, and he was just like, "Hey man, how you doing? How's everything? How did Lauren treat you? Good?" And it's like this. It's like I used to say it's like we've been through this, like we've all been through the same war, but like I feel like that's not the right, war is not the right word. We've all been, it's like, it's this institution. It's this very singular thing. It's like the Yankees. People take ownership of it. It's their SNL cast. And I feel the same way. So it was hard, and you want to, every week you're like, okay, all I have to do this week is write a legendary SNL character that will be beloved and have Halloween costumes. Like, it's like right. you get into that mindset of all I have to do is be perfect, which I may or may not have been said to us. I don't expect you to be ready. I expect you to be perfect. Like, I expect you to just be on, like, kind of.
I don't know your parents well enough, but some people grow up with that feeling, or sometimes that direct message from parents. And I'm assuming this isn't your story, but I wonder if people who come from that kind of, background are maybe more equipped, to just be like, oh, all right, I had to be perfect my whole life. I'm just gonna be perfect here. I don't know.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Once again, I started right after I left SNL.
Tell us all about the therapy. I want to know.
Well,
Okay,
I was going to say,
story.
because I feel like this is an important thing. Was like a week before I got SNL, I started dating a girl, and a few months after SNL, we got married. Like it was like right before SNL, I met this girl. We dated throughout all of my 9 years there. We broke up for like a little bit in the middle because it was like I was like, I know we're gonna get married, but SNL is my wife right now. Kind of, she was on Broadway for many years, so we didn't have the same day off for 9 years. Like it was
That'll do it.
Yeah, it was. We were both performers, and then SNL was my life's dream, and then I got there, and it changed me, and I had my, I had, season 4 for me. I remember being a little bit like, that's where it started. I definitely remember like what's happening to me.
Right.
And by the time I left, I was a different person, but I knew at that time I was like, this was great. This was everything. I have done everything I can do here. I wish I was Kenan Thompson. I wish I could stay here for my entire life. And Kenan Thompson is somebody who is built for that place. Kenan Thompson is someone who knows from the start, taught me from the start, just let everything roll off your back and just realize that you are on Saturday Night Live and have a good time. Like that kid is the best. He's been working in television since he was 6, and there's a reason. It's just because he's nothing phases him. He's just always fine.
Yeah, I can't let anything roll off my back.
Oh,
like,
nothing.
That's like literally would not work for me.
No, you take stuff and you add it to your
I
back.
add
You're
it
like,
to my
That's
back.
what I do.
I go through life on my back, collecting all the things that can be there. So had you ever been in therapy?
No, it was right after SNL. I got married. We got pregnant.
You did
honeymoon
all the
pregnancy.
things. You did it all.
Yeah, had a baby very quickly, and then 3 months after my daughter was born, my father passed away, and then 3 months later, my mother passed away, and it was my first child, and it was like that. That just went, okay, now life doesn't make sense, and that's when I started therapy. And kind of got through the grief and everything pretty quickly, and now still talk about the SNL stuff.
Yeah.
The therapy kind of opened my mind to what happened at SNL.
That point that you just described, the going to therapy, that's where I would argue many, if not most people, get stuck. And we talk about this a lot here. So I want to know, was it like, did someone tell you? Were you like, was it very clear? Did you have a person like
the impetus to go, you mean?
Yeah.
It was a cry for help. It was a cry for help. It was I had just had my daughter, and everything just felt wrong. I couldn't enjoy anything because I just wanted to share it with them, and I couldn't. And then I just went like, I remember my wife looking at me and being like, maybe it's time, like, and kind of, and the conversation had been happening, but I was also like, I was at a point, we were buying a house, everything was so hectic, living out here, and I started to get to the point where I was waking up like this, just going like,
Yep.
like waking up and just waking up at a 15 and just being out of breath and being like, what am I going to do? Oh my God, like, and being at such a pace that I couldn't calm myself down, and then found therapy and meditation, and that changed everything.
So do you go to, is it like psychotherapy? Is it cognitive behavioral therapy? Is it like you talk about your feelings? Do you have homework?
I had just started. I was no. It was I found a therapist I literally Googled
Right.
it and went like, enough is enough. I need to talk to someone now.
Got it. So talk therapy is what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk therapy.
Talk therapy. And okay, so tell us about that. I'm curious kind of how you found that. Meaning how it felt to have to do that.
It's funny in the beginning. You know, I'm sure. I had a father who would laugh if I told him I was going to therapy, kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I think now, after going to therapy, if I explained it to him, he'd be like, "All right, I get it," you know, kind of thing. But like, I was never against therapy. I was never like, "Oh, that's, you know, garbage." I did have a very close friend, who told me that his therapist fell asleep. And he stopped going to therapy, and that really bothered me, because that's
Maybe
when
he should have just been more interesting.
yeah, that's when I realized it's also a job.
Yeah.
And that you have to pick somebody. You know, the person you're talking to is important.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember it was hard to find somebody in LA at the time. And I went to like my general practitioner and was like, I'm having a hard time getting a therapist, but I'm having these, you know, attacks. I feel like, you know, like, and started medication and calmed down immediately, found a good thing very quickly. And that scary part of it, the part that was like, felt like my skin was crawling, like I was like so nervous that like I couldn't relax, like
Yeah.
the medication helped that. And like, once I found a therapist that I really felt comfortable with, I just found myself the first couple months just like uncontrollably sobbing and just being like, I had been holding all of this in for so long and had no idea. And now, after a year and a half of it, it's I look forward to it. It's fantastic. And the thing that I've noticed recently this week is like, I had no idea what a bad place I was in. And now I know, because it's hard getting out of it. And I'm still in that hard place. And it doesn't feel great, but it feels a lot better than where I was.
That's really beautiful. And also, really, a theme that we hear so often is we accumulate that level of stress, and we just, so many of us cope. We keep going. The pace of life is so fast. You just have to get through it. And we don't realize how much we're holding on to until we start waking up in panics, or our skin starts to crawl. And then unpacking that, like, I love hearing that, you know, not that you had that experience of having that sobbing, but like that release point.
Oh,
where
yeah.
You're able to start to be like, oh, I don't have to hold it like that anymore.
I found out that like I had guilt in the beginning, where I was like, all I'm doing is complaining to this woman. Like I felt bad for my therapist. Like I was
Yeah.
like, you know, and it's like, I just realized like that was it. I was a people pleaser, and like it got even worse through SNL, because I was just like, please, constantly like, please love me, please tell me I'm great, please put me in the show, please do this, and they would be like, why don't you shave your beard, and also like, did you get heavier? And then I'd be like, you know, it was a mess. And I know I don't in any way have, like when you were saying women in this industry, like it's true. If I always, my wife would say, if I gain 10 pounds, I don't get work. And I say, if I gain 10 pounds, I get more work. Like the heavier I am, the fatter the best friend becomes. That's it. Like, you know, like it's nothing. And, but then also through therapy, realizing like how much, I did things like fat jokes or jokes about my appearance or being ugly, or like they were like, or like they, one time I dressed up as Rosie O'Donnell, and like I hate myself for it now. You know, like it's like, cause I was just trying to please comedy gods, you know, whatever. But now I'm like, oh, I tricked myself into hating myself, and that was a shame.
Mayim Bialik's breakdown is supported by Ancestry.
Have you ever wanted to know more about your family history but thought it would take too long or it's too hard? Well, Ancestry has a feature called Story Scout that can help you dive in fast. Wouldn't you love to know more about your ancestors, what they did, how they lived, the struggles they overcame? In just a few minutes, Ancestry Story Scout can find interesting stories, not just about your grandparents, but family members from multiple generations back. A lot of people don't know a lot about their grandparents' lives, but Ancestry can connect you to a whole story about someone's life, starting with just a few simple details. You could learn what your grandparents' life was like in the Depression, where they lived, maybe the street they lived on. And you don't have to be an expert genealogist or even know a lot about family history to build a family tree quickly and easily on Ancestry. With just a few facts, you can start a tree and add to it with a hint feature that leads you to your family. You might even connect with other people who share common ancestors with you. Discovering your ancestors' stories of resilience in records at Ancestry can help you gain a deeper understanding of their lives. Even if you've never done family history before, the little leaves called hints can lead you to discoveries in minutes. Imagine what it would feel like to click on a hint and find out something amazing that quickly. Ancestry has a fresh way to uncover new stories and details about your family, starting with just the name of a grandparent. Where do they try it, Jonathan?
Try it at ancestry.com/breakdown. That's ancestry.com/breakdown. Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by Raycon. Mayim, what's your favorite comfort thing to have when you're traveling or on the move?
Music in my ear holes.
Exactly. And Raycon gives you an amazing experience. Tell us about it.
Well, no matter what you're doing this summer, visiting Jonathan visiting you, it's important to have music in your ears, or maybe you like to listen to podcasts. Raycon wireless earbuds make all the difference. You get crisp, powerful beats at half the price of other premium audio brands. They look great, they feel even better. They come in a range of cool colors with customizable gel tips included for a comfortable in-ear fit, which is very important to me. They have a 24-hour battery life. They're portable, they're adorable. You can take them anywhere, to workouts, for walks, just hanging around your house. Listen up, Raycon's offering 15% off all their products for our listeners. Here's what you have to do to get it. Tell them, Jonathan.
Go to buyraycon.com/MBB. There, you'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order, and it's such a good deal, you'll want to grab a pair and a spare. That way, Mayim and I can both have them. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/MBB. Buyraycon, RAYCON.com/MBB.
It's something that I think a lot of, in particular, your kind of comedians do encounter because you are writing your stuff. Like for me as a sitcom actor, you know, I'm getting material and sure, I can say this isn't comfortable or that's not. And, you know, as someone who's played frumpy characters, because I was on The Big Bang Theory for 9 years.
I'm not familiar. I've never heard of it.
That's not what I meant.
It's a little show on the side.
Oh, yeah. Sounds cute. Sounds cute.
Yeah.
What I meant was I spent the same exact amount of time, you know, having that kind of job in our industry is extremely unusual. And in sitcoms, that never happens. So I'm not comparing, but I'm just saying that that was a period of time where, my dad died in that time. Like, life happened. I got divorced in that time. You know, like I went through a whole decade, you know, of life while, you know, not only, ultimately needing to please everyone because that's our job, you know, but also, being the one who didn't really wear any makeup, the one who was 3 sizes bigger than the other women on the show, you know, like just, and this is not
vests.
a lot of sweater vests. And this
I
is
was
not
Santa
like,
Claus for 9 years.
right. And this is also not to be like, oh, poor famous people, you know, like poor rich famous people. But, you know, another thing that Jonathan and I really try and drive home here is that like those are universal struggles, you know, the struggle to feel like you can't own your whole self because it's not what other people think you should look like, be like whatever it is, that's a universal struggle and it doesn't matter, you know, the environment that it happens in, that pain is real. Like eating your feelings is a thing that happens if you're an emotional eater, someone who eats emotionally, you know, that happens if you're on a TV show, not on, like that's a thing that happens to humans. And we have a particular experience as being humans also who are on display for other humans. Which, it's living in a goldfish bowl.
Yeah, it's that hard line to walk, which is like, I didn't want to be famous. I wanted to be on SNL, and that I didn't know any better, and now I get that. And I understand what comes with it, and that kind of stuff. And then when you say I have my best friend in the world, he's an exterminator. And he's like, how you doing? I'm like, and he's like, oh, that's funny. You're complaining. I was in a crawl space this morning. And he's my best friend in the world. So I go like, hey, I understand, but I have, it's hard. I understand that your crawl space is hard. I get it. I used to
But my crawl space is hard too.
I worked at a Pizzeria Uno for 9 years before,
Right.
It's like it's not like I was born on Saturday Night Live with, and it's also, by the way, another thing is people automatically assume you're on Saturday Night Live, you must be rich, and I'm like, that's not a primetime television show, it's not.
Right.
I made more money on a commercial than I did in my first 5 years at SNL.
Right.
It's not. You don't. If they see you on TV once, everyone assumes you're handed $1 million.
For sure.
So that's hard too. It's finding that balance of I don't know if you have this, but I just spoke to all of my friends from high school on a big Zoom chat. And it was glorious. It was absolutely glorious. Hours of fun, and then the last 5 minutes of that last 10 minutes, it always seeps in. It's like, so what's Ted Danson like? You're on that team,
totally.
and
Yeah.
it always seeps in, and it's hard to feel normal.
No, it's not normal.
Yeah, no. What I have noticed about myself is I have always been a fan of things. I've always been a fan of SNL and that kind of stuff. And it was like when SNL ended, I really didn't know what I was gonna do. I went, oh God, I'm done. I don't want to do. I felt like I was 95 years old,
Right.
and I just went I'm tired. I'm 40 and I'm tired already from this job that almost killed me. And then that was it. I was like, well, what? SNL taught me this thing that was what I found I did best on SNL was having a good time. When I was having fun. So I just started writing and doing things or seeking out projects. I'm a gigantic Star Wars fan, and I that's not a secret. And I now have downstairs 5 action figures of my Star Wars characters, and every time I pass them, I'm like, I'm in Star
crazy.
Wars. It's
I'm
I
a Lego
can't-
figure. I get
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So what you did do, though, so you got into therapy. You began a grief process that, all grief is linked. I like to remind people of that. So the grief of also ending a job, for me, it tapped into the grief of my divorce, the grief of my father, everything all gets in there. So you started a process, which honestly may take a long time to keep processing. And you got married, which is wonderful, and you had a baby, which we assume is wonderful.
Yes,
and
best.
you did kind of, you are now on a show. You're working again, and it's such a different kind of environment. So I'm kind of curious, what the experience has been like working again like that.
It's interesting. Right after SNL, I was on a sitcom called Me, Myself, and I, CBS. It lasted not very long. It got canceled immediately. It was me, John Larroquette, and Jack Dylan Grazer. And it was my
That's
first
right.
sitcom. Yeah, my
Right.
first sitcom, my first kind of venture into that. But
It's a
it was
different beast.
right out of the gate at SNL. I went from the coolest job in the world, hanging out with Prince and whatever, to being on a CBS sitcom where I was like, gosh, I really hope I can get it together.
Yeah.
And it immediately felt,
The
I don't want
wrong
to say
choice.
wrong. Not the wrong choice. It wasn't. It afforded me to move out here and set up a life here for my daughter, which is what we needed. And I met Jaleel White and John Larroquette and these and I'm sure. Do you know Jaleel?
Yeah.
Yeah. I only just met him through that show, but I talked to him
awesome.
the other day. I made a lot of great friendships on that show, but I also learned immediately, which was not on my mind at all, was how much your post SNL career means to meant to everyone but me. Like everyone was like, it got canceled, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're so sorry." And I was like, "Oh, I'm okay. Like I'm okay. Like I met Julia White. Like I was like, I'm living in LA now. And there's also that thing too of like SNL is very high profile. And I have consistently been working since I left SNL. I'm on like 20 cartoons and like all this stuff. But people go, "How are you? Are you okay?" I don't see you every second of my life, so I'm assuming you're destitute.
That's it. I mean, that's it.
I recently saw you as Santa Claus in a cartoon that you posted on Instagram. It went full circle from your
yes, very
your
much
theater
so.
days.
It's such a beautiful point. Also as we come to the end of our time with you, like if I'm not in your face all the time, I still exist. I still have a whole life. I still have things I have to work through, It's so interesting though, because it's true, but you kind of can't win. You can't win. Because then if you, like, people are like, "Why'd you rush into doing a new show, Mayim?" I was like, well, actually it took 1.5 years, which as a 45-year-old woman, like every day I'm getting another wrinkle and closer to not being employed. It's like, I don't have the luxury of time, especially as a woman in this industry. But then it's like, why'd you wait so long? What, you didn't want to strike while the iron was hot? Like, you can't win. So yeah.
You can't, it's all insane. And now I'm on a TV show, but I'm happy now. I'm doing okay with a family. I am on a TV show that Tina Fey wrote, which I'm so happy about. And they said, well, I said I would do this show, but I would like to keep my beard because for 9 years they took it away from me, and I like having a beard, and I'm at a point in my life. Well, yeah, it was also like crazy to ask for something and get it and not feel like a nuisance, and also go like, oh gosh, I was so afraid to ask. Like it's amazing. The therapy really helps every single day.
I would like to make this about me before we say goodbye to you, because, well, so as part of Big Bang Theory, I got to cut my hair, and I don't have straight hair, but for Big Bang Theory, they straightened it because whatever, it's just how it started, and then you can't change your look. And again, as a female, there's a lot less room. And we all played kind of caricatures on the Big Bang Theory. So like whatever your look was, like that was your look. Fine. So they straightened my hair with an iron for 9 years. And apparently that's really bad for your hair, and it kind of like kills its ability to do anything. So I was really glad when they wrote into the Big Bang Theory finale, those last 2 episodes, that like Amy cuts her hair. Great. So then I like got to have the short hair. I call it my give up haircut. I didn't cut my hair. I just gave up on like trying to have long, beautiful hair. So now I have short hair. And I used to always have multicolored hair after Blossom ended because I wasn't allowed to do anything like from 14 to 19.
That's why I have this, because I never wanted to
So I used to dye it different colors and like, weird, not pretty colors. You know how like the girls now are like, I dyed my hair, but it's like a $400 job in a salon. Like I'm like an in the sink bottle of peroxide. Like I'm like So after, like when we started getting ready to do Call Me Kat, I was like, I'm going to put some blue streaks in my hair. I'm going to do it. They're going to be navy. It's going to be like cool. It'll kind of blend in. And for the early photo shoot of Call Me Kat, they let me have blue hair. And then they were like, yeah, we need you to take that out. And the thing that was like so annoying was that I think they fixed all of it in post for the photos, but you can't just wait for it to fade. I had to have my hair dyed brown over the blue, and the dye comes out in the shower, and I became that high maintenance female where like all my towels got all the dye on them, and I'm not used to this.
It's an extra job. It's an extra
I'm
job.
glad that you got to be who you want to be on your show.
Well, I said to myself, I said, like it's also crazy too. It's like red carpets and stuff. Like I feel guilty because like I dare you to find a picture on the internet of me not in.
Do you have what's under there?
I have hair.
You have lovely hair.
Oh yeah, I was gonna show you this picture. This was me during the pandemic, and this is what just.
Did it get really long?
What I would look like if I was allowed to look like
us.
what I wanted to.
Yes.
Wow.
I love
amazing.
it. I'm super about that. I love
so
it.
curly too.
Beautiful.
Full Christopher Lloyd.
I love that. Well, Bobby Moynihan, you are a delight. I think your journey is really interesting. I appreciate like how honest you're willing to be without being gossipy and trashy. Like you really speak about your experience, and I feel really inspired by you, and I think everybody is going to feel inspired by you as well.
Well, thank you. I remember seeing you on Kelly Clarkson talking about this podcast, and I said to you, I'm really glad you're doing that because it's very helpful, and I'm glad I got to do it.
Well, this is really awesome, and we wish you only good things and so much happiness with that beard and your child and your continued journey, and thanks for letting us be part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's really nice when someone that you've admired and laughed with and just really think is awesome is such a cool person.
I've been watching his characters for years and years. It's like hard for me not to want to talk about his
know.
characters, which I know everyone wants to talk about the SNL characters, but he's really, really funny.
He's been through something, and I really did respect.
It's a pressure cooker.
Really did respect the way he talked about it, because he didn't say the whole system's broken. He didn't say this is untenable, this shouldn't exist, it's abuse. He didn't say any of those things, What he said was like, this is what it was like for me. This is what it did to me, Well,
just having your dream, realizing your dream and realizing that it's so stressful and painful.
But how is it? Okay, here's a question. Did they all not, don't they send a memo out to all young comedians who want to get on SNL and be like, here's the deal.
It's cutthroat.
No one will help you. Don't you think they should tell people that? I mean, we're telling you right now, young people or older people, if you're trying to get on SNL, it's very, very stressful, and not in a way that's fun.
For the business in general.
Oh, but that experience, because of the time frame, because of the number of people, because only 150 people in the world have done it. It's a very elite group in a very elite situation with a tremendous amount of history. It's enormous.
What I can't stop thinking about is this idea that you feel really good. You have your group of comedians that you're reading their minds and you're like, I'm amazing at this. And then all of a sudden, all of your scaffolding gets ripped apart. You're thrown into a new environment because you're knighted.
And you should be happy about it because look at this opportunity and you don't have anything to complain about.
Exactly. But, and also you're told you are special enough to make it to that next level, but you have to make it to the next level with none of the support system that you had.
It's small fish, big pond, big fish, small pond. I mean.
But then you go in there and you're like, I have to read new people's minds and I have to be able to collaborate in a completely different way. How do you not doubt yourself? You're like, I wasn't meant to be here. The fact that you can even get through any of it is huge.
You also just defined college.
Yeah.
When he finished, he also had what I heard was 4 of the major stressors that can exist as a human.
Death, birth,
moving. There was one more. A change of job. I mean, he had
change of jobs. That's 4 right there. No wonder he's waking up in a panic.
Yeah, he was waking up. Some people describe it as panic attacks in their sleep. As a technical, person, I don't know that that's how I would describe it. But what that is I think many, many people have experienced that. It's not just you're falling asleep. It's what? It's literally, I describe it as you wake up feeling like there's a gun to your head or a knife to your throat. You're
jolting awake.
You are jolting awake and maintaining a level of vigilance and panic as if something significant, and we're not talking I had a nightmare and I felt really upset and I cried. That's just me on a Tuesday. We're talking about a level of feeling like something happened that you don't know about, but your body is physiologically reacting to it.
Yeah.
And that's also, when people talk about having panic attacks versus anxiety attacks, panic attacks literally can come out of nowhere. Anxiety attacks typically have more of a, this happened, I started feeling this, and then it was like this, and then it was an anxiety attack. Panic attacks, they can land like that, where you're going about your day, something even kind of that's not even in your consciousness can happen, and all of a sudden it's kaboom. I'm back in a state feeling anyway, terrorized.
Mayim, let's do a you might need help if your work situation is putting an undue amount of stress on you, and you might be driving towards a breaking point.
Oh, I like that. All right. We're saying you might need help if, not to say like quit your job, because that's rarely the solution. It's rarely a reasonable solution. We're talking about getting support. You might need help if you dread going to your job. You might need help if the things that are required for your job, am I describing you already working with me? You might need help if simple things that involve the maintenance of your self-care seem extremely difficult because you dread going to your job. You might need help if you have nightmares frequently about your work situation or the people that you work with. You might need help if you think that nothing can be done about your current situation. Something can always be done. I've been told you may not like all the choices there are, but there are always choices. And you might need help if your sleep, eating, or interpersonal relationships or sex drive seem to be altered significantly because of what you're feeling is going on at your job. Do you have any others, Jonathan, as someone who's worked, a bunch of different jobs with other people? Any other things you'd add?
I think if you're feeling that dread or anticipation that's really consuming, if you're getting stomach aches or headaches and not really connecting that to a stress or anxiety, that's a big one.
I guess that's it. From our breakdown to the one we hope you never have, we'll see you next time.
It's Mayim and Bialik's breakdown. She's gonna break it down for you. She's got a neuroscience PhD or two. One fiction, one and now she's gonna break down